Something just happened in Jordan that fundamentally changes the strategic equation of this entire war. Iran destroyed one of the most expensive and strategically critical pieces of American military infrastructure in the Middle East, the AN/TPY-2 X-band radar, the eyes of America's THAAD missile defense system, a single piece of equipment worth over $250 million. And it's gone. Knocked offline by Iranian precision strikes in a matter of minutes. No advance warning, no successful intercept, just a direct hit on the facility that was supposed to see threats coming from hundreds of miles away. Over the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly what this radar does, why losing it cripples American and Israeli missile defense across the entire region, and what Iran's ability to hit this target tells us about how vulnerable every other critical system actually is. Before we continue, thanks for tuning in. Your support keeps this channel going. Please subscribe and like the video so more people see this analysis. Now let's break this down. The AN/TPY-2 radar is not just another piece of military equipment. It is the foundational sensor that makes America's ballistic missile defense architecture function. Without it, the entire system goes partially blind. The radar operates in what's called X-band frequency, which gives it the ability to track objects at extremely long range with high precision. It can detect a ballistic missile launch from over 1,000 kilometers away, calculate its trajectory in real time, and feed that targeting data to interceptor batteries, positioned hundreds of miles from the radar itself. The system was designed specifically to give American forces and regional allies advance warning of Iranian missile launches, enough time to position defenses and execute intercepts before warheads reach their targets. On April 5th, 2026, that system stopped working. Iranian forces launched a coordinated strike package targeting the remote facility in eastern Jordan, where the TPY-2 radar had been positioned since 2012. The strike used a combination of cruise missiles and loitering munitions designed to penetrate hardened structures. The radar installation, despite being protected by reinforced shelters and layered air defenses, took multiple direct hits. Within minutes, the facility was offline. Satellite imagery confirmed severe structural damage to the radar housing and support buildings. American officials have not publicly disclosed the full extent of the damage, but sources familiar with the assessment told defense analysts that the system is non-operational and that repairs, if possible, could take months. That means for the foreseeable future, a critical node in America's missile defense network across the Middle East is gone. Let's talk about what losing this radar actually means in operational terms. The THAAD system, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, is built around a simple concept. Detect incoming ballistic missiles early, launch interceptors to meet them outside the atmosphere, and destroy the warheads before they re-enter and hit their targets. The entire system depends on accurate early detection. That's what the TPY-2 radar provides. When a missile launches from Iran, the radar detects it within seconds, tracks its flight path, calculates where it's going, and transmits that data to THAAD batteries and other defense systems across the region. Those systems use that data to position their interceptors for the best chance of a successful kill. Without the radar, the detection range shrinks dramatically. Other sensors can still track incoming threats, but they see them later, which means less time to react and lower probability of intercept. It's the difference between having 10 minutes of warning and having 3 minutes. In missile defense, that difference is everything. Israel's Arrow system, American Patriot batteries in the Gulf, and THAAD units positioned across Jordan, the UAE, and Qatar all relied on data from this radar. Now they're operating with degraded situational awareness. They can still function, but their effectiveness is reduced, and Iran knows it. Here's the second problem. The TPY-2 radar cost approximately $574 million when it was originally procured. But that's just the hardware. The installation, the infrastructure, the trained personnel, the integration into the broader defense network, all of that adds cost. Conservative estimates put the total value of what was destroyed in Jordan at over $250 million. And replacing it is not a matter of ordering a new unit and shipping it over. There are a limited number of TPY-2 radars in existence. The U.S. military operates fewer than a dozen worldwide. They're positioned in strategic locations: South Korea, Japan, Israel, and formerly Jordan, where they provide coverage against ballistic missile threats. Losing one doesn't just create a temporary gap, it forces a strategic choice. Do you pull a radar from another theater, leaving that region less protected? Or do you accept reduced coverage in the Middle East while waiting for a replacement that may not arrive for years? Either way, you've been forced into a trade-off you didn't want to make, and that's exactly the kind of strategic pressure Iran is trying to create. Now let's talk about how Iran actually pulled this off. Because hitting a radar installation deep inside Jordan, protected by air defenses and positioned in a remote area specifically to make it hard to target, is not a simple operation. It requires detailed intelligence on the facility's exact location, an understanding of the surrounding defense architecture, and weapons capable of reaching the target with enough precision to cause meaningful damage. Iran demonstrated all three. The strike package included Pave cruise missiles, a newer system in Iran's arsenal with a reported range of over 1,050 kilometers, and precision guidance capable of hitting targets within meters of the aim point. These missiles fly low, hugging terrain to avoid radar detection, and use a combination of GPS and inertial navigation to stay on course. Alongside the cruise missiles, Iran deployed what Israeli intelligence later identified as loitering munitions, essentially kamikaze drones that can circle over a target area, identify the most vulnerable point, and strike with high accuracy. The combination overwhelmed the defenses around the radar facility. Patriot batteries attempted to intercept the incoming threats, but the volume and diversity of the attack made a clean defense impossible. At least 2 cruise missiles and several loitering munitions reached the target. The result was catastrophic for the facility. What this strike demonstrates is that Iran has the intelligence capability to locate and target specific high-value American assets, even those positioned in Allied territory far from Iran's borders. It has the weapons to reach those targets, and it has the operational planning to execute strikes that overcome defensive measures. That combination is what makes this moment so significant. Because if Iran can hit a radar in Jordan, what else can it hit? American bases in Qatar, command centers in the UAE, naval assets in Bahrain. The infrastructure that underpins America's entire military presence in the region is now proven vulnerable. Here's where the strategic picture shifts in a way that most analysts didn't anticipate. For the past 2 months, the assumption has been that American military technology and defensive systems give the U.S. and its allies an insurmountable advantage. Superior radar, better interceptors, more advanced intelligence. That advantage was supposed to make Iranian strikes costly and ineffective. The loss of the TPY-2 radar breaks that assumption. It shows that Iran can identify and destroy the most critical nodes in America's defensive network. And once those nodes are gone, the entire system degrades. Now let's talk about cost. Because this is where the economic dimension of the conflict becomes impossible to ignore. Iran's strike package that destroyed the radar likely cost between $5 million and $10 million total. Conservative estimate, cruise missiles run about $1 million to $2 million per unit. Loitering munitions are cheaper, a few $100,000 each. Let's call it $8 million for the entire operation. That $8 million operation just destroyed $250 million worth of American infrastructure. The cost-exchange ratio is roughly 30 to 1 in Iran's favor, and that's before you account for the strategic value of what was lost. The radar wasn't just expensive hardware, it was a force multiplier that made every other defense system in the region more effective. Losing it degrades the performance of billions of dollars worth of missile defense infrastructure across multiple countries. Iran spent $8 million and reduced the operational effectiveness of an entire theater defense network. That's not just a tactical win, that's strategic economic warfare. And it's working. American defense stocks took a hit when news of the strike broke. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, companies that build the systems that were supposed to prevent this kind of loss, all saw their valuations drop as investors started questioning whether the technology performs as advertised under real combat conditions. Insurance rates for military contractors operating in the region spiked. The Pentagon is now facing questions from Congress about how a $250 million asset was destroyed with minimal warning. This isn't just a Middle East problem. This is a credibility problem that affects American defense commitments globally. If the U.S. can't protect its most critical infrastructure in a region where it has had a massive military presence for decades, what does that say about its ability to defend allies in Asia or Europe if a major conflict breaks out? Here's the part that should concern every strategist watching this. The strike on the TPY-2 radar was not a lucky hit. It was methodical. Iran didn't just launch missiles randomly hoping to hit something valuable. They identified the single most important sensor in the American missile defense network, planned an operation to destroy it, and executed that plan successfully. That level of operational sophistication suggests Iran has detailed intelligence on American defensive infrastructure, which means they likely know where other critical assets are positioned. And if they know where those assets are, they can target them. Every THAAD battery, every Patriot radar, every command center, every fuel depot, every communication node, all of it is potentially targetable. And if Iran can take out a $250 million radar in Jordan, they can take out other high-value systems elsewhere. The question is no longer whether Iran has the capability. The question is what they choose to hit next. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why didn't American intelligence see this coming? The U.S. operates one of the most sophisticated intelligence networks in the world. Satellites, signals intercepts, human sources, all of it designed to provide early warning of exactly this kind of threat. And yet the strike happened. Either American intelligence didn't detect the preparations for the strike, or they detected it but couldn't stop it. Neither answer is reassuring. If intelligence didn't detect it, that means Iran's operational security is good enough to hide preparations for a major strike from American surveillance. If intelligence detected it but couldn't stop it, that means American defenses are insufficient to protect critical assets, even when there's advance warning. Either way, the result is the same. A critical system is destroyed and the broader network is now vulnerable. The Pentagon has not issued a detailed public statement about the incident beyond confirming that the facility sustained damage. That silence is telling. When the U.S. successfully intercepts threats or prevents attacks, officials are quick to publicize the success to demonstrate capability and deter future aggression. When something goes wrong, the response is typically minimal public comment, while damage assessments and reviews happen behind closed doors. The silence around the TPY-2 loss suggests the damage is worse than anyone wants to admit publicly. So where does this leave the broader conflict? Israel and the United States are now operating with degraded missile defense coverage across the region. That doesn't mean they're defenseless, but it does mean their margin for error is smaller. Iranian missiles that might have been intercepted with high confidence a week ago now have a better chance of reaching their targets. And Iran knows it. We should expect Iranian strike operations to increase in frequency and intensity now that a key American defensive asset is offline. The calculus has shifted. The cost of attacking has stayed the same for Iran, but the likelihood of success has gone up. That's an invitation to escalate. And there's a broader lesson here that extends beyond this specific conflict. Advanced military technology is only as good as your ability to protect it. The U.S. has spent decades and hundreds of billions of dollars building the most sophisticated missile defense network in history. But all of that investment is vulnerable to a well-planned strike on a single critical node. Distributed systems are supposed to be resilient. Knock out one piece and the rest keeps functioning. But when that one piece is a force multiplier that enables everything else, losing it creates a cascading effect. The TPY-2 radar was exactly that kind of node. And now it's gone. Share this with everyone who needs to understand what just changed. Iran destroyed $250 million of American missile defense infrastructure in minutes. The radar that was supposed to protect the entire region from ballistic missile threats is offline. And the weapons Iran used to do it cost a fraction of what they destroyed. This is not just a tactical setback. This is a strategic shift that changes the balance of power across the Middle East. And it happened faster than anyone anticipated. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Can the U.S. replace what was lost, or is this the new reality? Subscribe for continued coverage, and I'll see you in the next one.